Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show. This is TFT today. We're going to be doing Alex Jones. We were supposed to try to get to him last week, but all that stuff in the streets kind of took over, and we ended up talking about that the whole time. That's all right. Everyone had something to talk about, and it was certainly on everyone's mind. I am glad to see that the Democratic's National Caucus has left the street in general. That's nice. But today we're going to be talking about Alex for sure, and very happy to have Booster here with us today because he doesn't
I
usually
made
join
it.
us on TFT, but he did make it. But this is a
No,
topic
usually
he's
I'm either
actually,
asleep or working.
or just not. It's not your thing, right? But
Yeah,
today
all
this
that.
is
Yeah,
your
yeah.
thing. So
I love Alex Jones.
cool. Now, Alex Jones is one. We'll get into it in depth today, but he's one of those people that has been blamed for everything and
Yes.
totally attacked in what I consider to be a completely disgusting manner. But why is it you like Alex so much? Oh, well, hold on before you answer that real quick. Everybody, please check out our links down below. We'd love to have
Of
you
course.
contact us on Twitter. We want you to be on our shows. We want you to be part of what we're doing here. Also, contact either of us or any of the guys you see on the show to get on our Discord. I was thinking about dropping the Discord link in the this bottom list of links, but I thought maybe that would be a mistake. You know, we don't want Looney Tunes in there. We already got one or
You
two.
know, I love Looney Tunes.
Well, that's true. Anyway,
Yeah.
definitely, contact us. We'd love to have you get involved and be on the show, and we mean that. But anyway, I'm sorry, Booster. Why do you like Alex Jones so much?
Why do I like Alex Jones? Okay, do not misconstrue me here, right? I don't love him because he's a news source to me. I just find the guy ridiculously entertaining. He is hilarious, right?
Hmm.
The guy is the guy's mad. He's better than Chinese soup, yeah. Uh, he's just with the screaming and the rambling and everything and going on about intergalactic psychic pedophile vampires.
Right.
I can't get enough of the guy. You just find an out of context clip of the guy. It's good for a laugh, yeah.
It is good for a laugh.
Mhm.
Years and years ago, I used to watch him all the time, and of course, this whole idea, this whole concept, you younger folks might have that you can't find any news on the news. Well,
Mhm.
there used to be a point that Alex Jones actually was a good news source. They used to
Yep.
be like that, back in those days, the Young Turks were fun, right?
Ooh.
Yeah,
God.
no, it's shocking, right?
You, sh- you
Um,
sure that's not a alternate dimension?
No,
Ugh.
no, no. But they
Man.
both went downhill in very different ways. Now, I'm not going to say Alex went downhill per se, because
Mhm.
one of the things I would challenge anyone on is the level of accuracy from Alex Jones. Now, what
Yeah.
he focuses on in that might not be what you think should be focused on, but that's his shtick. But he did get more and more insane, and I think what happened was, he's a radio guy. He was trying to make a bigger name for himself, and he noticed that when he did his outrages, he got more attention. So he just started doing more and more of them, right?
Isn't that a shame?
It is a shame because he got to the
Yeah.
point that I can't stand him for more than like 5 minutes now, right? Which is too bad because I enjoyed him a lot. But the thing with we're going to get into it in depth here. But one of the reasons why Alex was canceled, as the cancel culture goes, was because he's so right, and
Yes.
that's the interesting fact about Alex Jones. He has a team
Why?
of researchers that are
Why
quite
would
impressive.
he? Why would everyone have to collude to get rid of him on the same
Yeah.
day, drive him off the internet on the same day, if everything he was saying was just wrong and total nonsense?
No, absolutely. And I got a presentation I'm going to do here in a minute that kind of lays out what I think is going on, right, in regards to that, because his voice is no less important than anyone else's voice, no matter what he's talking about, right? Because doing what he does, he can talk about whatever he wants, and some of these accusations that what he's talking about is something that you can't have a conversation about. Well, who said? Who came up with that rule all of a sudden, right?
Hmm.
So I
Thought
don't
we
know.
had freedom of speech, baby. What is
Well,
this?
America does. I don't know about you over there in New Zealand. You got that?
We have enough of it. I
You
haven't
have
I
enough of
haven't
it.
tested it. I'll give it a test at some point. See how I go.
Well, I think a lot of countries in general
I've done all
live.
right so far.
Well, a lot of countries do try to live by the idea of freedom of speech, but it's not technically a law, and it comes up that way. Like Britain, the general concept of freedom of speech is throughout the entire culture, but they will lock you down, and they have the right to do so. They have what they have in Britain, in London. I know of at least a couple spots where it's an area you're allowed to have free speech.
Hmm.
Right? I think it's in Hyde Park or adjacent to Hyde Park or something like that. But now, how about New Zealand? You guys have a similar system, or?
Like I said, I haven't really tested it too much. I haven't heard too much about people going to jail just for saying shit. Although there were people going to jail just for owning that video of the Christchurch shooting. That was some bullshit.
Yeah, no, that kind of
Like
falls into it,
14
right?
years as well. Yeah.
14
Like,
years for owning
yeah,
a
no
video?
joke, right?
What?
Yeah, right?
Oh, that needs to be dealt with.
That's nonsense, right? That's almost as long as an actual murder.
Well, it depends on the country. That's more years than a murder in some countries, like Britain, for instance. They're quite
Yeah.
lenient. They're sentencing. But
Yeah.
that's shocking to me.
Yeah.
That is shocking. Yeah.
That's the one thing I've noticed about my country that I do not like. Other than that, I like New Zealand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a nice country. There's a lot of good points about it, but you're falling underneath the insanity, as Flying Saucer says, of these socialists. It's happening all over the Western world, and it's funny to me because we all know that a lot of this socialism is starting in our schools, and I don't mean the universities. Of course, those universities are full of socialist professors, of course, but it's actually in our elementary schools and our junior highs and high schools. That's where it's starting. And in America, there's a huge turn to homeschooling. I know we have several people here who homeschool their kids in our community, and I don't blame them. I mean, look at the insanity it's going. You have a bunch of schools because of this latest round of riots, which there'll be more. Trust me. Um, but then that they're actually starting to educate the white kids in their school about how they
The
have white
white.
privilege, and they need to be dealt with. I
Ah,
mean, what?
disgusting.
Well, it is disgusting, and I've heard a lot of people come out and make some stuff. We saw the picture of that poor girl whose mother made her hold up a privilege sign in front of her. I mean, I mean,
That messes kids up
it messes
so
them
much.
up, and it's like, what do you
Yeah.
expect your children to do? Is this really what you're after? You want your children to grow up to be street bums or whores? That's what you're after? That's your goal for your children?
Isn't this essentially? It's like original sin for whiteness. It's
Yeah.
so strange.
Well, it's pure, raw racism, right?
Yeah.
Is what it is. And the sad thing about it is, I mean, there is tribalism all over the place. Of course, it's a normal human nature to be so. But if you think about who's done more for to kind of knock back tribalism, racism, culturalism, however you wanted to identify it, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any group of people other than the whites that have done more. Show me one group who has. They have. We've spent the past couple of hundred years fighting really hard to end such things and to try to unify. But yet we're the villains all of a sudden. It's
Isn't it
a
strange?
yeah.
We're supposed to take the pounding and all the guilt for all the bad things we've done, but no pride in any of your accomplishments.
Oh no, that's absolutely true. And this, of course, is all at the heart of it. And I think it's at the heart of the Alex Jones conversation too. So don't think we're getting off track because we're
Hmm.
not.
Hmm.
Right. Let me check out the chat real quick here before I drop my little presentation and kind of get Booster's opinion on it. I don't want to waste much time because I'm not sure how long I have Booster Day. So
Oh,
Joe says, heard the protests hit Japan now. Really? I didn't. I
I think
didn't.
I've seen. Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos.
Oh, well, this is probably
I'm
some
sure it's
idiot.
Tokyo up to their shenanigans.
Oh, yeah, it's probably some idiots up in Kabukicho or something like that. Don't,
Uh,
those people wear Pikachu
Disregard them.
costumes most of the time. Don't worry
Yeah,
about them.
Pikachu
Sorry.
costumes, and they watch hentai all day.
Yeah.
Just disavow.
Yeah. I mean, there's always some little section in Tokyo that wants to copy exactly what the West does, but they're such a small group that it doesn't even make the news, dude,
Yeah.
because no one else in Japan cares. But there's always idiots that want to copy everything, and that's a lot of. And what we saw with what was going on was a lot of kids just want they want to get out of the house because of Corona-chan, right? And they're
Hmm.
just following along. They're out there on a picnic, right? Because even though we kind of it's irksome to hear the peaceful protest, the media just constantly flooding you with it. Uh, uh,
Peaceful protest. Yeah,
well,
so
in
peaceful.
general, it was non-violent protest, I would say, but a
Hmm.
lot of it was just kids getting out of the house, man. That's what it was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and people taking advantage of it. And of course, some of it was paid actors and intentional nonsense. We've been watching Black Bloc, or as Americans call them, Antifa. Uh, they've been they've been on their agenda for quite a while. This isn't new, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know anything about that, Joe. Let's see. Nick C says July Days and Red October are coming soon to an America near you. They'll have a hard fight on their hands, dude. Let's see. Dave says Alex Jones is the only person qualified to interview Dave Mustaine. Okay. Um, they're saying hi to each other. Dennis Parox says, "Did Alex become a parody of himself, or what the fake news says he is?" Uh, Interesting. In a way, I kind of think in a way he did, didn't he, Booster?
Hmm. Hmm. Something like that.
Maybe. Let's see. Nick
Yeah.
C says, "Banned from Fanspeak. I'm just like Alex Jones." Huh? What's he talking about?
I had I had to ban him for his slander against my country.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, uh, this is just a waste of time, really. That is just a waste of time. Okay, let's see. It was like 100 people tops, and nearly all of them were gaijin. Oh yeah, sure.
Goes there.
They,
Those
goodness
whiteys
gracious.
causing trouble again. In other countries, even.
Yeah, right. Well,
Imagine
here
that living in Japan, being white, and protesting for Black Lives Matter. That's so
it's
strange. I
so
can't wrap my head
strange.
around
It's
that.
weird. Yeah. Now, do keep in mind that in Asia, the Japanese are probably the most tolerant of black people, by far. I'm not saying that just because I
Mhm.
live here. It's just true. But
We know the
even
Chinese don't like them at
oh,
all.
the Chinese can't stand them.
Yeah.
And that's not a CCP thing. That's just a cultural thing. But all
Mm.
Asians kind of have looked down on blacks. I don't know exactly why. But then
Hmm.
again, if you go around the world, every culture kind of looks down on blacks. I mean, this whole idea of systemic racism toward blacks, in some ways, it is true. Now, systemic
Hmm.
meaning it's built into the system. I don't know that that's true,
I
but
would say it's more built into the culture.
it's culturally
Or
systemic, yeah.
yeah.
And it is true. I mean, everywhere you go, there is a kind of a bias against black people, and I don't know exactly why it is. I mean, I could
Mm.
make plenty of
We can make
anthropological
plenty of
connections.
theories, but
Sure.
but we get into like the, how do you say, race realism topic for that.
Well, yeah, but that's a conversation that needs to happen, though.
That's kind of the
It does.
Stefan Molyneux territory right there. Molyneux.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, I mean, there are a couple issues because this is all tying to Alex Jones. Trust me, trust
Mhm,
me. We're
mhm,
not off topic. But um, you know, there is obviously a problem because black guys will come up, even like senators and congressmen. They get pulled over a bunch
mhm,
just for driving around black. It's a real thing. But then
mhm,
you have to ask yourself, well, why is that? Is there actual racism toward them, or is it a response from the police because of their lives? And the funny thing to me, watching all these children run around who are supposed to be leaders in their area, because they're just children, it's shocking to me how stupid they are. And these are supposed to be our leaders. It's outrageous.
mhm,
But I mean, the big problem with the cops, especially in those cities, because notice it's always coming out of these hotbed cities, right? It's not coming out of some
mhm,
little podunk, Idaho, right?
mhm.
And the
It's
reason
always
for it
the
is,
cities.
well, they spend every day in the thick of it, right? Seeing
Mhm,
kids get killed, rapes, murders, just this constant thrash of nightmare life. and some of them deal with it and don't take it out on the people that they're arresting. Others of them, a lot of them, take it home to themselves, and alcoholism is rampant amongst police, domestic abuse and stuff. And what it is they're living in these nightmare situations that's just not good on the psyche, right? Every day,
Yeah,
that kind of
bad
horror
for the
you're
soul.
looking at. It's not good for your soul,
That
dude.
is ugly. Yeah,
It is ugly. And the thing with
yeah.
it is, every day, what color is the people they're seeing involved in this? It's black people, right?
Hmm.
It's not
Hmm.
all blacks, but every criminal they're dealing with mainly is black. And
Yeah.
it kind of embeds into their psyche, dude.
It,
It's
it
quite
makes something of a bias after a while, wouldn't
it
it?
does, and
Yeah.
I understand it. Therefore, someone who had a little common sense, like say, I don't know, a mayor, or a governor, they might say, well, okay, well, how do we deal with that? Well, the easy way to deal with that, rotate your cops,
Hmm.
right? I mean, how simple is that? Rotate them. Have a year on inside that nonsense, or maybe do it to. You have to do something to have a little bit of crossover,
Can't keep
but
them there for decades. You
no,
know.
and get them out, get them into the countryside where they can have a more normal life. Of course, you're going to have some cops that are dealing with community outreach and stuff. I'm talking about the cops who are on the street involved in criminal activity and arresting it and dealing with it. I'm talking about those cops. Rotate them, man. Rotate them. Send them out to the country every now and then. Let them have a little bit of a respite dealing with grandma who's going 20 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. Give them a break. But you know what I
There you
mean?
go.
It's a simple solution.
Well, that's how you get a prejudice against grandmas now. They have a systematic problem with grandmas in the police. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
You
But
can't win.
you can't win. I mean, and no one comes up with these simple solutions, right? It's either all or nothing, right? And
Hmm.
how does
Hmm.
this tie into Alex Jones? Well, let me show you.
Let's go. Let's presentation, baby. Let's do it.
All right, let me.
You gonna show me?
I am going to show you. So let me do that, and
Whip it out.
I am going to whip it up. Now you watch yourself there. Let's see. I
Don't
think
slap me with it.
no, no. I think I'm going to
Yeah.
do this one here. So let's do that. Okay. All right. Good. 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 Good.
Yeah.
So you can have something to look at, and then I'm going to bring it up
Yep.
myself here. All right. So let me come back over this side. All right. Perfect. And do like that. All right. Awesome. All right. Here we go.
And
Now,
it's just a flickering TFT screen for me.
oh well. Nah, that's a problem. Discord's got to deal with that, man. But
Yeah.
you can see it on the other side. They're just pictures anyway.
There
I don't have any video or nothing. But here's the thing. Here's Alex Jones. Now, I didn't pick the most flattering one for him because he would be upset with me if I did. Yeah, because Alex Jones, he went from being a radio guy who was, out hunting, he wanted to be a real journalist. I think. Now, some people say he's an paid operative, and okay, fine. I'm not here to talk about that. I don't know anything about that. If someone has that information, then drop it in the chat, or we try to get you in here and let you give that
Yeah, I
opinion.
haven't heard anything about that. I'd like to know about that. But that'll be he'd deserve several Oscars if that was the case.
Right, right, right. But
Yeah.
what I do know is I think he wanted to be a real boy, a big boy, a real journalist, right? And he went after things like with the Bohemian Grove and the Oklahoma bombing, and et cetera, et cetera. These big things, trying to find some little bit of truth that no one else was talking about, is what he did. And he was on radio for a long, long time, and he was taking his cue from other people, right? And trying to be like them. But here's the interesting thing for me, right? The end result for Alex is he's banned everywhere right now, right? He can't be on
Hmm.
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Google attacks him constantly. Instagram, PayPal, you name it. He's banned. And then my question is why, right? He's not promoting violence. Never has ever, unless it's against himself and his super manly zinc drugs.
He's definitely promoted violence against his shirts. He rips them up all the
Oh,
time
he does.
on
He
air.
does.
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
done nothing to actually be canceled the way he has. And he went on for years and years and years and years and years, and of course wasn't canceled. And it kind of came out of nowhere, or did it? Right? Because he's following in the steps of guys like this, Rush Limbaugh. Now, I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh. Now, Rush is a full-on pundit and a political, watcher, and he's been attacked over the years too. Not like Alex, but he has. How about this jackass? Right, Howard Stern. You don't think he has a political opinion? He gives it all the time, constantly, constant stream of politics from this guy, and he can be quite funny. I've enjoyed him too. Right. How about this Buffalo here? This guy, right? Another one that has a constant stream of opinion, political opinion. But the difference
Terrible ones.
terrible ones. But the difference between the four that I've just chose four. There's more you could talk about. Don Imus, et cetera, et cetera. Right? That's just in America. But what's the difference between these four men? What would you say, Booster? What's the difference?
The main one
Yeah,
between these four? Well, I know Chink's a lefty, but Rush is a right guy. So what is the biggest difference? I don't know. Three of them are allowed
Alex
to stay on, but
Alex
Alex isn't.
Jones is friends with Donald Trump. Actual friend,
Oh,
right? Rush Limbaugh is a
his pals.
Republican, and he supports the president in general because he's an American. Most Americans will support their president, whether they like him or not, because it's our president, right? And he does, and but he'll point out good or bad points that Trump does, and Trump, I think, is really good at a lot of things, and he's bad at other things, right? And Rush will point
Yeah.
that out, no problem. Of course, Howard Stern hates Donald Trump. He's got TDS bad. I mean, it's leaking out his ears. It's so bad. And of course, Cenk Uygur is gonna have an aneurysm. You know he is.
Well, he almost cried on air when the guy was elected, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
still delicious
It
content.
is. But I'm going to make the case that they never cared about Alex Jones. I don't think they cared about him at
Mm,
all. But he
mhm.
had Trump on. And here's the thing, you might disagree with me. You can go ahead and do that if you like. But I'm telling you right now, this guy right here, he helped Donald Trump win the presidency. He did.
That, oh, I can absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I'll absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe he might not have contributed much, but he definitely helped.
Oh no,
I don't know
I
if he
think he
swung
helped a
it.
lot more than little,
Yeah, you think so?
because
Hmm.
this guy has a huge outreach, and he was pumping
Yeah.
Trump hardcore.
Hmm.
But to be fair, when Trump does something wrong, he's got on his ass about it. To be
Yeah.
fair to Alex, right? But he was a big promoter of Alex, and
That's
I'm
why
going
he
to
had to
make the
go, huh?
case. Well, yeah, well, I'm going to make the case today that
Hmm.
they went after all the people who were friends with Alex. I mean, friends with Trump. I'm going to make that
Hmm.
case. All right, because I think it's true. And Roger says, "How about Bill Maher?" It's another perfect example. To be fair, though, because people will jump on Bill Maher immediately, and I get why, because he's a jackass.
Yeah.
But he can be fair sometimes. He can be fair sometimes, right? Let's see, Chester. People don't even rotate their tires here. Okay. Oh God. I'm just telling you, rotating your police would help a lot with this problem because it's not a racial problem. It's a cultural one. And these cops
Hmm.
are just being blasted. But anyway, some people we saying his persona was designed by a group of psychologists for some grand study. I've heard all kind of crazy conspiracy theories about
I
Alex
like
Jones
I
too.
like that one.
That's a good
I
one, yeah.
definitely I could believe
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. But now let's get into why they canceled him, right? What at least what they said they canceled him for. Of course, the big one was Sandy Hook. All right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's how dare you? And he even apologized for it. You were telling me, right?
He's apologized for it. He's straight up said I didn't have all the facts or I messed up,
He did. He did.
and he's regretful for what he said about it.
Yeah,
He said he thought that there were holes or anomalies in the Sandy Hook story, and then he said later he found that they weren't.
yeah. No, and there were holes. They just weren't the holes he thought they were. Right.
Hmm.
Now, do keep
He
in
claimed
mind.
that the parents of the children that died were paid actors, and the media claimed that that sent Alex Jones' fans after them to harass them when they were very vulnerable.
I
So.
don't know if
Yeah,
that's true or not. But I
that's what the
do.
media has claimed. So
Well,
yeah.
do keep in mind there are ongoing lawsuits against the situation in Sandy Hook with lots of evidence. They're not just the court didn't throw them out. They're actually ongoing
Mhm.
lawsuits because they have evidence of shenanigans going on there, and that's what Alex was getting into. He was following the lawsuits and the things that were happening, and he wasn't completely wrong. I don't think he was. And but the thing he got caught up in is something that ties into what we're talking about here, and into a lot of things we talk about. CNN was doing the same kind of crap that CNN does all the time. They were setting up their own scenarios to look good. The problem with these media sources, Booster, is they're constantly creating situations so it leads into their narrative. Now, that's not actual news work,
No,
that's like theater, right?
never.
Yes. Well, CNN had several actors, or they were supposed to be, fathers and mothers, and they weren't. They were just hired by CNN to come in and create the narrative that they wanted exactly in the closed box of their, was it laziness or was it they wanted to shoot at a certain angle? Who knows? But I think a lot of people got caught up in CNN shenanigans because that's what they were doing. It's complete bull. It's a lie. They're literally just shooting actors and saying these are parents, and they're not. It's a lie, right? And I think Alex got caught up in that. But nevertheless, this is a big one, right? The Sandy Hook thing. They try to crucify
Yeah,
him for that.
that's the main thing that they've just lampooned the guy for. This is like the main thing that he's gotten supposedly wrong. Yeah.
Right, right. That's right.
Hmm.
And of course, we also have this one right here. He caught a lot of flack for saying that Ted Cruz's dad was friends with Lee Harvey Oswald. And
I don't remember this one.
he helped to kill John F. Kennedy. That was a big one, dude. That's how I mean, but I didn't even pay attention to that one. But I bet you he had some kind of information that was pointing that way. Because the thing with Alex is his information is usually right, dude. Now his
Hmm.
angle on it might be odd, but the information itself is pretty solid. And
And the
that's
way he presents himself makes everything he says very questionable, right?
well, because it's a
My favorite
character.
example. Yeah, my favorite example is the gay frogs thing. You know, that's been memed to death. That's been
Oh,
mocked to death,
I
right?
got that one right here. There you
Yeah.
go, gay
Uh-huh.
frogs. Hmm.
Yeah, the gay frogs. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the freaking frogs gay. You know that whole
Well, they
thing.
were.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
Not exactly. They were transitioning the sex of the frogs with the chemicals that they were putting in the water.
yeah, which is making them gay.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like shit. It's actually true. It sounds ridiculous, but it was true.
No, Alex Jones' information is usually very accurate. He has a good team. He just takes the angles he takes on it can be really weird sometimes. It's like the
Yes.
main street of the point. The news is right here in the middle, and he's somewhere over there dancing in the fourth dimension, La La Land. It's like what the hell? But he is a
Or he's
character though,
getting or he's getting high as shit on Joe Rogan's show talking about interdimensional freaking
right?
pedophile vampires. Yeah.
Sure,
But
but it's
but then you
fun
kind of
though.
understood what he was talking about. It was like that was back in 2017, but now in light of the news with Jeffrey Epstein in 2019, I think you kind of understand what he's going on about.
Yeah.
He just says it in the most ridiculous ways.
He does, but it's like I said, it's this character he's playing. Inside him is a real radio news guy, I think, who wants to be a news guy, but he found his shtick and he stuck to it. It's we see a lot of comedians and a lot of entertainers do that. They'll find their shtick and they never let it go because that's how they're identified, right? And that's what Alex did, and he just became more and more over the top. Of course, he's trying to make money, he's selling all his male vitality and all that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
he just became a meme of himself, is what he did.
Are we are we going to discuss the male vitality and all the products he pushes?
You should. You should.
We
Well,
should.
I have a whole. I got a last segment on it, which I'll hold on.
Yep.
You
Sure. Sure.
go ahead and throw out what you and just go ahead, dude. Say what you want to
Go
say.
ahead. Right.
Yeah.
Ramya.
Yeah. Right.
Well, yeah, I talked a little bit. Sorry, I studied a little bit about his products and shit, right?
Uh-huh.
And he makes a lot of bank on those products. You know, people buy that shit.
Oh, sure.
And from what I've seen from people who've been testing it on, reviews and everything, they say, well, most of them's crap, to be honest, right? The guy's essentially a snake oil salesman. But some of them work all right, but they're about triple the price of what you can get in other places and not as effective. So, I don't know, take that for what you will, but it's the stuff that he sells, and that's what he makes a massive living on.
He does, and
Yeah.
I don't necessarily blame him for it. But that's one of the things people definitely chastise him about. Let me just finish this up so I can get off this thing and stop it from blinking the way it is. Oh my goodness gracious, it's always a problem, isn't it? All right, here, let me just finish real quick. So my point is this: if you look at the people around Donald Trump after he won. We know that the left lost their damn mind. They've been in full on panic mode. They've been attacking, tearing down, screaming, yelling, acting like a bunch of damn children at every professional level of life, right? We all know this is true, right? And I think Alex just got caught up in that. And they went after him specifically because he was friends with Trump more so than anything he ever said. Because he's just a character guy that's saying going out there and saying crazy things for entertaining people. And this, like I said, you got Rush Limbaugh, Bill Maher, like person said. You got Howard Stern and Cenk Uygur here. They say the craziest stuff all the time too. Well, so Rush is a little bit more on point all the time, but the guys are insane. They're out their mind, right? But look at other people who have suffered because they were friends with Donald Trump. Roger Stone. What did Roger do? I mean, honestly, what did he do? And they want to throw him in jail for
I
the
don't
rest of his life, right?
I don't remember what he did,
I
but
don't
didn't they
think he
like
did
kick
anything.
down his door essentially?
Oh yeah, yeah, they went right after
Yeah.
him, right? And of course,
Yeah.
we're seeing all the information coming out now, right? All the illegal stuff they did with the Pfizer court and all these lies they did inside the FBI. It's all coming out. All of it's coming out in the Mueller report and stuff. And of course, this is part of the Mueller report thing. How about General Flynn? Look what they did to this guy. You literally have the American government threatening his son, threatening his family.
Hmm.
Now, that if that doesn't piss you off, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Right? Because all the information shows this
Strange.
guy did nothing wrong. Matter of fact, he did his job really well. Right?
Hmm.
Once again, this is the guy who was handling the transfer between Obama and Trump. Right? How about this guy, Paul Manafort? What about all the nonsense around him? Right? Or how about this one, Michael Cohen or George Papadopoulos? Right? And they, all these people here were around Trump,
Is his name
working with Trump.
Papadopoulos?
Huh? Papadopoulos, yeah.
Papadopoulos? What kind of name is that?
It's Greek. But
Get a real name.
okay. But I'm
That's
just saying,
terrible.
if you
Oh
don't see
boy.
the connection between these people and Trump, and there are more. I just chose the most visible ones that you would catch offhand immediately. They have done everything they can to isolate President Trump from anyone who would support him. Now, and of course, we also have a full court press coming from Google, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, PayPal, all of them. If you have anything positive to say about Trump, they'll short your notifications, they'll shadow ban you, they'll do all kind of things to shut you up and keep your mouth out. It's a full court press about anyone who supports Trump, particularly his friends who have influence, like Alex Jones being the biggest one, because this dude, he has millions upon millions upon millions of followers. Millions. He's not little. This is big time, this guy. And he pushing Trump so hard, I guarantee you this guy was part of him becoming elected. Guarantee it. Roger Stone, of course, and he's connected with Alex as well. All these guys were in key positions to help Trump and do the things that Trump was trying to do. And it's not going to stop. It's going to continue, I guarantee you, because they're a bunch of criminals, right? Now, anyway, if you see my point, the reason Alex was canceled was because of his connection to Trump, and I think that's all it had to do with it. I don't think they care about his opinion at all. Actually, what do you guys think?
Makes sense. He knows too much. He has too much influence. Shut him down. Right?
I think so. I think so. Now, did I
Yeah, I
just lose?
agree. No, I'm here.
Oh,
I agree.
got
Agree
lost.
with you 100%. I think that's exactly why Alex had to go. They just used something that he had said 4 or 5 years beforehand as justification to do it. That's
Uh-huh.
what these people will do. They'll find anything you've said out of place, even if you've said it repeatedly, and use it to try and destroy you.
Yeah.
Um, the problem that a lot of people have with Trump is that, and the problem he has really, is he didn't surround himself with people who support him. He surrounded himself with people who don't. Even today, to this day, a lot of the people in his cabinet and in his administration at the highest levels clearly don't want the same things he does. Clearly don't. To the point where his own daughter goes in there and cries in front of him and begs him to do something about an obvious false flag attack.
Mm,
And he does, but he only does a little bit. He doesn't, as far as I know, no one even died from his response to it. Um, but regardless, these people, including his own daughter, are not his allies when it comes to politics. It's
no.
just that simple. It's obvious. They want different things. She's basically a rabid feminist. At least everything she proposes is rabid feminist nonsense.
Well,
Um,
her
and
husband's the
her
real issue, dude.
and her husband is a complete progressive Zionist,
He is.
100%.
Yeah.
That's all he cares about is what's good for Israel. I don't think Trump's like that. I think Trump really genuinely does care about what's good for America. The problem is he's still just one man. People are like, well, he's the president and he needs to da 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 da. Yeah, he's still just the president. The presidency is the weakest branch of the government for a reason, and there's only so much he can do.
Mm,
But if he keeps surrounding himself with people who clearly don't agree with his what he wants and what the American people clearly want because of his support, um, he's never going to accomplish anything of great note beyond what he already has. And they're going to keep coming after him. And
for
really, the
sure.
only reason they come after him, it's got nothing to do with he said racist things or he's a sexist. They don't care about that. He threatened their cheap labor. That's it. These people are slave drivers. They're slavers. They want brown people to come into America and all these Western countries because they can pay them less. And then they'll make excuses that it's for humanitarian reasons. It's not for humanitarian reasons. If they actually cared about them humanely, they would try and elevate the countries they're coming from, not rip down the countries that we're in.
Hmm.
That's not humane at all. How is that humane to make other people's standard of living worse instead of raising up the standard of living of the people you supposedly care about? Because it's all garbage. It's all a lie. All they care about is cheap labor. All they care about is making sure that globalists and people who want total domination get into power and stay in power so that they can, enact ridiculous things like the Minneapolis City Council who are vowing to disband their own police force.
Good. Let him.
Uh, it's just ridiculous. It's nonsensical, childish, trivial bullshit from top to bottom. And the people who actually fund these people aren't those things. They know what they're trying to do. They're trying to enact Chinese style corporate communism on the West. They've just about succeeded with the ridiculousness people make the argument of, well, private companies can do what they want. No, they can't. Private company cannot violate your rights. No
No,
one
they
can.
can't. I couldn't
That's why they're
believe
called
that.
rights.
I couldn't believe that Thunder when that court came out with that. I couldn't believe
Yeah.
it, dude. Yeah.
If they're violatable by a private entity, then they're nothing
Hmm.
legally. Like if Google can violate my right to speak, and they can because they have that much influence, then my right to speak doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Period. And that's the problem. A lot of the people going up against that. See, some people think Alex is like controlled opposition, and the only reason
No
they let him
nonsense.
prosper for so long is because he was so ridiculous and outlandish, and it was also just to give people who think that way somewhere to go. That could be true, very possible, but I doubt it. And the reason I doubt it is because for the last 3 years they've done nothing but try to destroy him
Yeah.
with everything except an actual assassination. They've tried everything else.
Well,
And
they've
I'm
actually
sure,
tried that a couple times too.
That's what I was about to say, and I know they've tried that a few times, but they haven't done so in a big public manner.
Yeah.
Um, I genuinely believe Alex is a genuine guy who is ridiculous. He's just a ridiculous man,
Yeah.
but he puts on an act of being more ridiculous than normal, and I think it's because he found some stuff out, when he was younger, and he just couldn't let it go, right? He couldn't go back into the Matrix, like the movie.
Yeah.
He couldn't go back to sleep, and he decided he wasn't going to kneel to these people. Like I haven't paid any attention to him recently, but I'm sure he finds this idea of people kneeling before these protesters just repugnant, like
It
I do.
is. Because it is.
It's oh my god, get off your what? Nothing is ever solved by submission. If you think there's this huge problem, how is submitting going to change that?
And besides, it's just a power play anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
I agree with your take as far as cheap labor with China. I get that. That's obviously happening because the communists control their labor market, right? I think they're thinking more generationally with the immigration, but I don't 100% disagree with you on that. But the thing with Trump, though, I think one of his problems, because he has some Thundero, but one of them is Trump surrounds himself with the best people for the job. That's what he always does. I mean, that's the secret to his success, right? Making sure he has the absolute best person for the job and letting them do their job. That's what he does. And I think one of his problems in regards to that is a lot of the people who might be best for the job around him aren't his friends, right? And his daughter, I
Well,
mean, I'm a father, I get that.
the other problem is a lot of people who might be best for the job, they have the credentials, are the same people who put us in this situation for the last 45 years.
Right.
They're trash, and they deserve to be executed, honestly, for crimes against humanity. Many of them. They've led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands, millions of people, destroyed countries, sovereign countries, killed. Who knows? We don't even know. There's probably not even an actual number how many deaths these people are directly responsible for or indirectly responsible for. And he surrounds himself with them because he's told, yeah, these are the guys you want, right? The GOP tells him that, or whoever,
Right.
Kushner tells him that. They know how to get it done, and they probably do. The problem is they have an agenda.
Mm.
They don't want to get your agenda done. They want to get their agenda done.
Yeah.
And
It's a problem.
he desperately needs to find more people who agree with him on most things. They don't have to agree with him on everything, but agree with him enough on his agenda to get it done. Because I do think Trump's a nationalist. I don't think he's a globalist, even though he blithely said he's a globalist and a nationalist. I think he was being sarcastic. But I don't think I genuinely think Trump is a good guy insofar as he does love his country.
Mm.
He's not some internationalist like Obama was. He's not like Bush was in a neocon. He's not like Clinton in a neoliberal. Like he's definitely not a conservative, but he also is somebody who loves America for what America can be and what
Mhm.
America should be, which is the superpower of the world.
Oh yeah, and he's shown very clearly he is a patriot. Very clearly.
Yeah.
You can't argue that. I do want to get Booster's take here a little bit, get his opinion on some stuff. I will say that there are some very interesting polls that have come out, and I understand we can get in the argument of the validity of polls, but there have been some very interesting polls come out. Do you realize that Donald Trump now holds 41% popularity within the black community?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I understand polls, I get that. But if that's even a fraction of true, that is a diametric shift, dude.
The problem is in no election since he's been elected has it mattered. There hasn't been a big turnout or even a significant statistical change in how they vote.
Well, I
So
mean,
they may
hearts and
support
minds,
him.
right?
They might support him, but if they don't vote that way, then who cares? Anybody can support him. If you don't show up and vote for him, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Well,
So hopefully they do. Hopefully
yeah,
they are motivated to get up on in November and vote and maybe there will be a drastic change. That'd be great. I want that. I want to see that happen. I want a country that is able to be pulled back from the abyss and doesn't just keep charging over the cliff. Um, but I don't think it's going to. I'll be surprised pleasantly, but I'll be surprised if it happens.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean, because I mean, in all this stuff that came out with the police brutality, and we all agreed it was police brutality. But you know, the people who suffer the most from the crime in these places, which is black crime, are black people. Blacks
Yes.
suffer more from black crime than anybody else. They're the
Yep.
ones under the thunder of it, and they're. I'd imagine they must be sick of the shit, dude. I mean, even have that fake black boy. Who's the fake black boy is in charge of Black Lives Matter? What's his name there? That idiot.
Old Sean, was it Sean King?
Sean King. Even Sean
Malcolm
King
X.
Oh,
is coming out and saying, all this crap is happening in democratic cities. We voted for these people. He's right.
yes.
You
Yep.
did.
The
Yeah.
problem with that thing, right? What we get from that is, well, why don't you vote Republican? But what he's probably suggesting is we need to vote further left.
Yes.
He might well be, but
Yeah.
but I'm saying all those normal Americans that live in those black communities who just happen to be of African descent, I guarantee you they're sick of it. You think we're sick of the nonsense? I couldn't even imagine living inside
Well,
that nonsense, dude.
you can see like first generation African people who come over here, like Nigerians and Kenyans and
Hard workers, dude.
Ethiopians and stuff. They're real. Generally speaking, they're incredibly hard for real. Like no virtue signal,
Yeah,
nothing. You can look at the data. They're hard workers. They often make a lot of money, sometimes even more than on average than white people do, because they work really hard. And they don't want nothing to do with this. My wife actually has I think she's a nurse who's from Nigeria. She lives here now, that she works with, and she all the time she talks about how she wants nothing to do with the black people here. They're out of control. They're
yeah,
killing each other. She doesn't understand.
yeah.
They live in this great country. She doesn't understand why they would hate that they do this. I've actually saw a study that was done a couple years ago, that actually this blew my mind, that black Americans commit more crime on average than most Africans in Africa. And Africa is a war zone in a lot of
It
places.
is. Yeah.
That
Uh,
blew my. I said, "Whoa!" Like when you adjust for numbers and everything, and normalize, they actually commit in a lot of places, in a lot of ways, they commit more crime.
yeah.
Especially the poorest ones do,
Well,
and that just blew my mind. Like, what?
well,
How is that even possible?
it shows you the situation. It's entitlement, is what it is.
Yeah.
It's pure. They're purely spoiled, and it's an odd thing to say, but it is true. And the simple factum is actual immigration, which is why immigration is a good thing. Illegal immigration has the exact opposite of what I'm about to say, but actual legal immigration outwork every demographic in America. Every demographic. They're hardworking. Because they're there for a reason. They're motivated. They have ambition. Some of these people, especially coming up out of Africa, India, some other places, they tend to be more toward the middle class and wealthy of those areas, sure, but they took everything they could to get out of that place and come to America for a better opportunity. Those are hardworking people, and it doesn't matter what country they're from. And this, of course, is a different conversation with the immigration. But all of these ones who are illegal immigrants, they're just there for the free stuff, man. It's a completely different mindset. Completely different mindset. And this is the thing that we've been seeing Republicans saying the whole time. And of course, the media doesn't cover it. They hate immigrants. How many times have they said that about Donald Trump? When, if you listen to his words, he's never said that. America is built on immigration and settlers and stuff like that. That's what we are. And we love that positive attitude. And America is a melting pot, and we're proud of it. We are proud of it. And this is the thing that kills me with this nonsense going on, is they keep trying to say everything is racist. Oh, white people are automatically racist. And yet we all know who we are. We're not Britain. We're not India. We're not China. We're America. We are everyone. We are the world, baby. And we love that we're proud of that. And I can't, it ticks me off with these damn media people keep going on about racism. I mean, it's insanity, especially because most of the racism we're seeing in these war-torn areas of America, it is black on black racism, right? I mean, people keep throwing out this statistic: 50% of all crime in America, over 50%, is committed by black people. Yeah, but where is that crime? It's in their own communities. So you're having 50% of all the crime happening inside black communities to black people from black people. That is racism, right? And no one talks about it because all they have to do is point at the cop and then automatically, just because he's white, it's racism. It's nonsense. You're not helping anyone. No one even thinks that way. And we can't have this conversation. So these poor communities are just getting ripped apart, right? Because we don't have these conversations about all the black folks who are living just out in America because they're just Americans, right? It's only in these particularly low income housing, ghetto places that have been created by Democrats, and they're in this horrible cycle, and no one does anything to help them. Everything they do, whether it be good intention or not, ends up hurting them. And this conversation never happens. And it's like, how can we keep betraying the black community like this? It's not right. We need to stand up and fight for them. They are part of us. And the conversation has never been right. This black grievance politics has been going on since the 60s, and it's disgusting, and it needs to stop. Rant over, Booster.
I agree.
The problem is they don't like the solution, because there's a lot, unfortunately, especially nowadays, a lot of them have grown accustomed to just being leeches on the system. The solution is to stop their ability to do that entirely. Everybody, in
Yeah.
fact. Give them back their agency. And I promise you, they take a decade or so, they'll get back to where they should be. They won't be the poorest group in the country by far. They won't have 40% of them or something like that living in basically poverty, which
Yeah.
poverty in America is, generally speaking, still better than most everywhere else. But it's still poverty compared to everybody else. They
Yeah.
won't have the crime rates that they have and the fatherlessness that they have, because they won't have anybody to just support them. White people, especially, and I'm going to talk to the white people right now because they're the ones who are at fault for this. They think they're saving black people by giving them welfare and
Yeah.
making
It's
sure they have
ridiculous.
access to all that stuff. No, you're not. You're robbing them of their ability to become free, sovereign Americans
Yep.
like you are.
That's right.
And until you get out of their way and let them start fixing some of their own problems, you can give them the playbook. That's fine. Give them the playbook, but you can't give them the everything, right? You can't run the play for them. They have to get on the field and do it. And until white people as a group stop feeling guilty for stuff we didn't do, I didn't do it, Chester didn't do it, Booster didn't do it, we'll never
Wow.
get past it. It's this white guilt mixed with white savior is why this stuff has become like a religious experience for these people.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't have religion, not real religion in their life, right? They don't have a connection with what they need, a spiritual connection. So they go out with this racial stuff and start kneeling and trying to atone for their horrible sin of being white. And it's so repugnant and disgusting to watch people do that. I don't I if I live the rest of my life, I will never in my life kneel to another human being out of submission. That is beyond anything.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to actually allow them to elevate themselves, allow them to get back to where they were before the 60s, and Mr. Johnson put them on the old welfare and had them N-words voting for him for 200 years, as he has supposedly said. Um, until we can, as conservatives and stuff, stop pandering, stop playing this game like they're not people, like they don't have agency. They do, and they can take care of themselves. We just have to let them.
Yeah. Well, and I really want. I have a lot of stuff to say, and we're not off topic, by the way. This is still Alex Jones' conversation,
Is it?
and
Is it?
it is, and I will bring it back. But you go ahead, Booster.
Huh?
Well,
Go ahead. What?
you're here to say something, so say something.
Hi, I'm Booster, and this is the Alex Jones stream,
All right, fine.
and we love the blacks here at Fanspeak.
Well, no, I mean, we're Americans, and we love America, you see. Alex has said exactly the same things we've said. Keep that in mind, right? Where Cenk Uygur, which would be considered the juxtaposition of Alex Jones, what have they done to help the situation? Nothing. All they do is want to create more and more racism. That's their whole goal, right? To tear things apart. And another thing here from Alan, the Hollow Comic says, I've heard that Black Africans don't think much of African Americans. Well, back when I was in the
Mm.
States, I know that's true. I don't know about now. But the thing is that
Still the
it's
case, apparently.
well, it might well be. But the
Mm.
thing that kills me about it is African Americans are not African,
Yeah.
genetically not. Most Americans are not genetically of what they look at as their ancestry. Where that we are a melting pot because we're all mixed. I mean, the whole joke thing with Pocahontas and her saying she had Indian in her family. I get the political attack on her. I get it. It's funny. Okay, Pocahontas. It was one of the funniest things Trump's ever said. But the reality is, most white Americans have Indian in them because that's who we are. We're a mixed people. We're mutts. We're the mutts of the world, right? And it's the same thing for the so-called African American. They're not African. They're a matter of fact, most of their DNA for most of the Black Americans are mostly European. I know that's shocking, and you're like, "Well, they don't look it." Well, it's because when you come into a genetic conversation, sub-Saharan Africans, their DNA is none of it is recessive. It is strong, baby. Their DNA is powerful, and it takes a lot to actually over many many generations for their dominant genes to be taken over by recessive genes. And understand that everything about white people, our skin color, our eye color, our hair color, the shape of our ears, our brows, our noses, all that stuff is recessive gene, right? Which is why there's such a big push coming out of the evolutionists saying that the blacks are the first, even though they have no evidence of this, right? And the whites and the Asians came later. It's because of the recessiveness of their genes, right? But that's the reality of it. They're not African. They're American in the purest sense of the meaning of it. This nonsense is being pushed by the left forever. It's that, like I said, it's black grievance politics. That's what it is. This is not helping anybody at all. It's just, and we need there needs to since this is going on, we need to have the conversation, dude. And for everyone saying that we need to listen and all this kind of stuff, well, maybe everybody needs to listen. Maybe there needs to. That's the problem. We don't. People aren't listening. They're just talking, right? And Alex Jones has said all these things I've said. He said this stuff, every bit of it, right? And he got torn down, I think, and he didn't get shut down before, right? He got shut down when Trump won. They came after him hard over and over and over, and they finally said, "Well, we can't do anything to really get him. Screw it. We're just going to get rid of him anyway." Canceled.
Yeah. And they did it all in one fell swoop.
They did. They did.
Yeah. Everywhere they can take him off of YouTube, Twitter, whatever. He's off, and they won't let him be anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, and Nick C has something right here. It says everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out all the time. Anita Sarkeesian. And that cunt said that with a fucking smile on her mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and they let her get away with that shit. Sorry for the swearing, but that pissed me off like nothing. This is a freaking snake oil salesman, con
She's a
job
bitch.
lady, and they keep throwing money at her,
Mm-hmm.
right? Unbelievable.
Yep. Sadly.
I just got canceled, I'm sure.
You're
There's no
done.
way this stream will stay up. They will definitely hit it. Probably already down.
Right, we're done. We're finished, boys.
Yeah. But anyway,
They're gonna get us.
this topic obviously pissed me off, I guess, Thundera, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A bit.
Well, am I wrong? No, more swearing, please, Tolver says. But I mean, come on, that's such a stupid statement. And the whole time she's smiling. She's so pleased with herself. I mean, go watch the video. It's like,
Unfortunately, people like that, the vast majority of them are lost. There's no
Oh,
change
yeah.
in their mind. There's no saving them from
Yeah.
this ridiculous mind virus that they've infected themselves with, generally speaking. So I really this Alex has kind of talked about this a little bit. I really think the only solution is a dissolution of the union. Let them have their utopia, quote unquote, and let the rest of the country that's sane, that still just wants to live basically the way we have since forever, live our lives the way we want, because they're not going to come back from this. They're not going to stop. They're just going to keep escalating, and the violence is going to keep escalating. It's not going to stop. People act like, well, it's just going to get better. No, I don't think it is. Even if public opinion
Mhm.
turns against them, and it will, I think what's going to wind up happening is they're just going to get more and more desperate. The problem that we have right now is that there's not enough good people who want to actually fix the problem. They want to ignore the problem. They want to get back their lives going back to normal, blah, 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 blah. That's not going to happen as long as these people continue and as long as people keep kneeling to people. Like, what are you doing? That's one of the most un-American things I've ever seen in my life,
Yeah.
kneeling before somebody else.
Yeah.
The problem is that these people are un-American. They don't have the American spirit at all. They have absolutely no desire to live under an American system. They don't want liberty. They don't want sovereignty. They want to be subjects to a government somewhere that'll take care of them and keep them safe and make sure everything's equal all the time. It's
Yeah.
preposterous.
It's the Jackie Chan angle, dude.
Yeah, it's completely anti-freedom, anti-liberty, and un-American. And the only way it's going to get better is if we just separate from them and let them have their promised land. And until give it a few years, they'll be begging for us back. Don't worry, because their ideas just simply don't work. They're oppressive to the highest order, and they're tyrannical and totalitarian, and that never works for long. Eventually, people have enough of it, and it crumbles, and that's
Yeah.
what would happen.
Yeah, no, and Nick, the reason I mentioned it, I'll read his thing real quick. Atlas Shrugged, right, Jiminy? She was right, and Ayn Rand was on it, dude. She predicted all of this 100% perfectly. Shocking, dude. But a long time ago. Nick C says Anita also attempted to get Lego to cancel police station sets that will show racism. Well, they just took
Go
down.
out the Lego.
Yeah, right.
Fucking
Well,
hell.
they also took a Texas Ranger statue out of one of the Texas airports. What? Now, I actually, to be honest, I think a lot of the statues are being taken down to actually protect them. I think that's actually what's going on. But the reason I made that with the thing is Anita can say the most horrible, nasty things. Cenk Uygur can say the most horrible, nasty things. All these CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, which is a freaking that is literally an insurgents. By the way, they can say the most nasty, horrible things you ever heard. And Alex Jones, one of the things he always did that I actually liked about Alex is he always left his conversation with, "I don't know. What do you think?"
I
He,
think he ended them all with, look, to be honest, I'm kind of retarded.
or what have you. But I mean, he always left it empty, open ended, right? He never lives.
Oh,
Alex doesn't live in absolutes. He never has.
no.
These people do.
And then they try and paint Alex as some sort of racist or even a right winger. Alex is about as centrist as you can get when
He's
it comes to
difficult right
most
way.
of his policies.
He hated Bush.
He's an Americanist, is what he is.
Mhm.
And they cannot stand that because, as I said, they're un-American. They don't like anything to do with the foundations of this country, with the Constitution, none of it. They'll use it if it furthers their goals, but if they had their way, they'd get rid of all of it in an instant. And that cannot stand. As once said by very many famous great men, a house divided against itself cannot stand. We are divided irreparably. I don't think the union's going back together.
Yeah.
The way that these people live and the way they want to live is completely antithetical to the foundational principles of the country. Um, and that's fine. They're entitled to live that way. They have that right as people. But I'm not in. I don't. But they don't have the right to live with me and with people like me who want to live in America. That's where I want to live. I don't want to live in communist occupied California. I want to live in America, the United States of America.
Yeah.
And I just genuinely think there's no going back. I think national political divorce is the only real answer. And I think it's going to ramp up. More and more people are going to talk about it. Just like I said, like 2 years ago, more and more people will start talking about Civil War. And now you got pretty much everybody on the right and a lot of people on the left
Yeah.
who discuss it now.
That's a fair point, dude. There's a lot of that. And by the way, you pronounced that word correctly, so claps for you. Good boy.
But What word?
Antithetical. A lot of people mispronounce
Oh.
that, dude. So good on you. Good on you for that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's insanity. And Alan's right. Only the cis speak in absolutes. And that's what we're seeing, right? Is
Isn't that
the
an absolute statement?
well, it's the rise of the Sith, isn't it? That's what we're seeing.
Pretty
Anyway, I
much.
found the funniest image I found from these protests. If
Is
you
that
want
what
to
you want
click
me to
on
share
my,
that? I'll share it. Hold on a second.
hmm this is
What?
the man caked head to toe in blackface, just like Justin Trudeau was, getting arrested by this King Jong Un looking motherfucker.
Ah. See, this is my point right here. Americans find that hilarious.
Yeah, it's
The
this
funny.
is
left
this
would
is a
be are
candidate, by
just
the way.
so offended. Oh, they start
Yeah.
fluttering. They get all aghast.
Well,
But
I mean,
American people just are like, "That's funny right there. That's
because
ridiculous. It's so
look
funny."
at the smile on his
It's
face.
so,
It's beautiful.
look at him. He's having a good time.
Uh,
It's like, do you think he did it out of racism? No, I think he's taking the piss.
he is
Yeah,
taking the piss.
yeah, that's all it
He's
is.
wearing flip flops. You never take anything serious wearing flip
Look
flops.
at that.
But
You got socks and flip flops? Good God.
but dude,
I think
I mean,
that's more offensive.
here's the thing, though, what you're saying with that is you have one side that is saying, don't do anything to offend us at all. And you have the other
Yeah,
side saying, don't be offended,
Uh-huh.
right?
yeah.
Because all this, what he's doing is taking, you're right, he is taking the piss because he's
Yeah.
saying, why so serious?
I don't think he's doing it to be racist. I don't think he's doing it to be hateful.
Of course
And
not.
yes, I know I've given Chester shit for his blackface comments all the time, but he does have a point.
Yeah,
He
well, of
does.
course,
He does have a point.
people don't wear blackface to be mean.
Yeah.
They're honoring something.
Well, by that logic, if people only wear it for racist reasons, then you have to be a person who condemns Robert Downey Jr. for Tropic Thunder. When the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
point of that was to make fun of the idea of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
it was a parody of people back in the day who used to do that more and more commonly.
Well, don't
Yes.
throw the responsibility of logic on too many of these people there, Trindero. I think you're asking too much. Um,
And not to mention, I think this guy was taking the piss out of Justin Trudeau, who
probably. Yeah.
was wearing blackface, and he kind of got away with it.
I just love the cop. It's like, no,
And
no. Who
now,
hired him?
I think it's Kim Jong Un undercover.
Might be.
Oh, take me to the nearest McDonald's.
You
Uh,
remember when he was opening up trying to open up North Korea more, and one of the reasons was because he wanted a McDonald's.
was it? That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Shit.
It is a great picture, though, dude.
I just love this image.
I love the
Oh.
smile on his face. He's like, "Yeah, baby, I'm gonna go national."
It's because I'm black, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, God. You know.
What are you
Uh,
talking about? I am normal Korean. It's too much fun. Oh shit.
You know, one thing I couldn't find. I did look for it. I couldn't find it, and I just, I don't have the knowledge of where to look. I think, but I was actually looking for the demographics of, who watches Alex Jones, because I wanted to see the demographic breakdown. Because I have a feeling it's not because they would, someone who's anti-Alex would say it's all white supremacists. Of course, I really seriously doubt that. Right? I kind of have a feeling he reaches a very broad demographic, actually, kind of like Trump does. I mean, the simple
Yeah.
fact of it is a lot of people, including a lot of women, support Donald Trump. Now, they can't say so. They can't speak it out in public because, just wearing a MAGA hat gets you attacked, literally attacked in America. Right? But yet you have these absolute dipshits walking around the streets with a Che Guevara shirt on all the damn time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, do you even know who that is? I mean, he is actually way worse than, say, your favorite character you like to throw out there, old Adolf. way worse. Because as far as we know, Adolf never killed anyone directly himself at all, right?
Well,
Well, he
except in
killed
the
Adolf. Yeah.
except
Well,
in the war, yeah,
except for
itself.
himself, that's true. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm talking about by his own hands, Thundero, right?
Well,
Except for when he was
he
in World War
probably
One.
did in
You're right.
yeah, in
Yeah,
World War One
as
he
a
probably
soldier,
did.
sure,
But as
sure, sure.
far as
But you know what I
Unless he
mean.
was a
outside of that,
pussy and he's like, "No, I can't shoot anyone."
no, it's so actually this is another thing that's been lost to history. He was a war hero.
He was a war
He won all
hero.
kinds of
Yeah,
medals and
that's kind of
stuff.
where he
Like,
got his push from. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Yeah, but anyway, you know what I meant. But
yes,
he, he, the thing with this guy though, see, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, Che Guevara. Che Guevara was a straight up serial killer, and he loved
yeah.
it. Why do you think Fidel Castro fed him to the Russians? Why do you think he did that? Because he was terrified of him. That's why. He was set up by Fidel Castro, supposedly his buddy, right? And the Russians took him out because he was making too much trouble, right? But yet you got idiots. Not only wearing shirts, but they have it. I've seen it on the side of buildings, cafes. They'll have his image as if he's some kind of socialist hero. That is an abominable, murderous bastard. He raped and killed people because he liked it. He was a really evil dude. But yet you're
Yep.
wearing his shirt. What the hell's wrong with you, dude? It's actually worse, in my opinion, than wearing an Adolf Hitler shirt, right? That's how bad he is. I cannot believe this nonsense, but yet you see it all the time. I saw it during these protests, people running around in Che Guevara shirts. It's like you really, really need a slap across the head. You really do. And Nick, see, wants me to stop. Stop what, dude?
I think he doesn't like the Hitler talk, but I just want to say, real fascism hasn't been tried.
Nick says stop.
Uh,
But am I wrong, Nick?
Jeez. Oh yeah, Curious Two Aces. Alex Jones.
Well, we're kind of talking about it in the fact that Alex was one of the things
I don't
Alex
think we're
Jones
talking
has
about
always
it at
done.
all.
No, we have, and the thing with Alex Jones is he'll come up with all kind of crazy ideas, and he'll talk about all these interesting news things he comes across. But the one point that I've made, Thundaro's made, and Booster has made is that Alex Jones is a patriot. He loves America. And he has always stood against this kind of nonsense, and he said the right things, and he got absolutely crucified for it, right? Because there's no reason that he should have been taken off of those social media stuff. There's no reason. He did or said nothing. He didn't promote violence. He didn't do anything that broke any FCC law at all. But yet he got taken down, and it's complete partisan politic,
yeah,
right? Which has led us to all this problem. All this nonsense, all this crap is tied into it because it's all about we had this whole protest you saw. All of that had nothing to do with George Floyd. Nothing at all to do with him. It was all about one, we've been locked up in our homes for a month or so. We can't take it. We want to get out in the street and play and get Trump. That's the whole thing, all of it. And then you get a bunch of assholes, either with the Antifa, who are literally being paid to do what they do, and then just a bunch of criminals looting things. That's all this was. This had nothing to do with Floyd at all. I guarantee you, a lot of those people don't even know anything about Floyd, right? I mean,
no,
he. It's wrong what happened to him. It's clear. You go watch the video. We all agree. But this isn't a good dude. He was a lifelong criminal. What are you honoring him for? Get angry at the cops, sure, but why are everybody and their brother honoring George Floyd, a lifelong criminal? What the hell are you doing? I mean, seriously, because no one cares. No one's paying attention to anything. They're just following along and playing and dancing with their flowers in the street because it's just a reoccurrence over and over and over. And that's the way it is. Matthew Gervais, oh, that's a nice name, says, wasn't Shea super racist and anti-gay? Yeah, sure. Yeah, he was. He was a lot of bad things. Go find a documentary on it. You'll find out exactly how horrible a human that was. It was literally a serial killer that found an opportunity to act with government authority. That's what it was. It was more than that, Chester. It was Soros and insurrection not being uh, cooped up. Well, no, I'm talking about what they kept going on and on about the peaceful protest. That's mainly people that just want to get out of the house and just yay, Trump's bad. I mean, but the Antifa stuff and a lot of the media stuff, it's absolutely it's a revolution, dude. This cultural revolution just got hot. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Right? And Matthew says the irony is hilarious. It is, dude. Yeah, yeah, because they're always doing that. They're always holding up people that like their defense of Islam. Now, this most Muslims, it seems that 73% of Muslims are just normal people, right? But Islam hates homosexuals, but yet they're the greatest allies with them, right? It's ironic. Anyway, Dr. Floyd cured corona. Sweet dude, he did, didn't he?
It was very brave.
It was very
hmm
brave.
hmm
Yeah.
All that guy had to do was put a knee on him, to kind of squeeze the corona out of his lungs.
That's right. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
YouTube is paying attention to this stream. They probably are, dude. I don't really care, Nick. I really don't.
Come at me,
If
Susan.
you haven't noticed yet, I don't care. Because there's nothing I said that is incorrect, and I've never said that I'm not willing to have a conversation about anything, right? And I'm certainly not promoting any kind of violence or saying anything like that. I'm giving my opinion, and if YouTube can't
Except against
take it,
commies.
well, they can just go straight to hell because and that's
Mhm.
where they're going to go anyway, right? Because this is nonsense, and it once again comes into the Alex Jones thing because he got shut down. George, I forget his name off. It's Stone got shut down. All these guys are
Roger
going to shut
Stone.
it down because they were supporters of Trump, and they are under attack from these damn liberals. And they're using their power to gain political advantage. That's what's going on, and Alex is a victim of it. Yeah. So
Mhm.
TFT
Mhm.
topic: is George Floyd really dead? That's a fair point, dude. We should get into that.
He's super dead. Like a mix of corona and meth and autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yes.
Asphyxiation.
And Claudio, now who's coming at us from south of the border,
Mm.
by the way, he
Claudio.
said, Claudio, yeah, the man, the myth, the
Mm.
legend, che Guevara, sure, he wanted to execute people for being gay, and I think he did. Sure, he did. Also, he claimed to be a doctor, was too young to become one when he left Cuba. Go watch a documentary on Che Guevara. They're a real frickin' piece of work right there. Jiminy
Yeah.
says Chester don't care about the YouTube police. No, I don't. I don't. Defund the YouTube police. I agree. Let's get on it.
If the
Roger Stone. Thank
police.
you, Scuttlebutt. Um, yeah. Well, okay. But let's get into. Let me finish these two, and we'll get into that point. I had a conversation with a Muslim man, and during that conversation, he said that he would let a mob kill his own son if he were gay. Matthew said,
Fucking
uh, "There's a 27% of Islam agrees with the terrorist. Just keep that in mind, right?" Joe says the conspiracy is that Floyd was a false flag. The Obama.org website had a picture of him May 17th before the death. Ooh. Ooh. Uh-oh.
hell.
Uh-oh. Oh no. I wouldn't put it past them, dude. Because one thing that they failed to do in this guy, I don't know if you guys noticed, but one thing they failed to do is they forgot to let us know that that bully cop was a racist. They usually take all the steps they're supposed to take with this, like I said, this black grievance politics that's been going on for 60 years. Well, 50 some years.
Well,
But they forgot to do it, right? They didn't do it. So.
one thing that's very tinfoily, right,
Mhm.
that we need to talk about, Black Lives Matter only comes about once every 4 years. Just before, every time it's on an election year,
Oh wow,
right?
that's interesting.
We're having
Yeah,
it
yeah.
this year, right? Look at Google search results, right? The last time Black Lives Matter was relevant was 2016. Yet we haven't heard a peep about him since after Trump was elected. Now we're hearing this again, right? Then look further back than that. Trayvon Martin, when did he die? 2012. That's
Yeah,
when his death was brought up to media attention. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, we see these riots happen in relation to political elections. That's true.
Yeah.
And we also see them come up at other times when important things are happening. And then this is the whole, the whole paid operative type of thing that's going on with Antifa. And no, not every single member of Antifa is paid. Of course not. The leadership is. Most of the Antifa are a bunch of stupid kids. And if you notice how
Yeah.
many of these kids got caught by their parents out there looting and breaking and burning
So
stuff, and their parents dragging them by their damn ear down to the police station, right?
funny. I've seen some videos of that. It's so funny.
It is, right?
I
Because
just can't wait to see Alex and company talking about if they actually do disband their police force in Minneapolis. That's just going to be fun to watch from all angles. As someone who doesn't live in Minnesota, it it'll be interesting to see how the people outside of Minneapolis respond. I genuinely, I still say that sometime this summer, the other side of this argument is going to be had, and it's not going to be pretty for the side that was burning down cities. Put it that way. I think a lot of Americans are fed up. They're starting to realize, like Alex has been talking about, that this system is just completely compromised, in that there's no solutions politically left. There just isn't, and it's a shame. But I think the experiment has failed, or at least it was failed by about 50 years of socialism.
yeah,
Um, and I think the only way to correct it is to unfortunately let it die and build up something new in its ashes, like a phoenix. Just raise it up. Because you have people out here who are literally advocating and have convinced a city council, a duly elected city council, to disband their entire police force
yeah.
and put in place community activists or whatever they called it. It's so beyond insane that most normal people just go, "What?" Like their brain freaks out. It short circuits at the thought of this. But they've done it. And they're going to continue to do it. And they're going to try and do it all over the country. There's no reason for sane American people, mostly conservatives, but there's some lefties too who are like, "What the hell?" Um, to stay with these people anymore. And I think guys like Alex are going to be at the forefront of a movement that I've been in for a long time, which is just to dissolve the union. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's silly for 350 million people to try and live together under one set of rules when we don't want to. It's not like we're the Chinese who are pretty much homogenous. They're like
That's fair.
90% Han or something like that. Uh, and that's why they're okay with having a huge monolithic government over them. Same with the Indians; are kind of similar, but they're having a lot of trouble now too religiously. So I just don't think it's rational, and I think guys like Alex are going to be at the forefront of it. He has talked about it to some degree. I remember just a few weeks ago, he was talking about, I don't want this, but if they're gonna keep pushing us into this corner, and it just has to be me and my family and some white people living in a redoubt somewhere while a bunch of non-white people try and come and kill us, then I'm gonna go down fighting. I'm not just gonna lay down and die. And I don't think Alex is a lay down and die type of guy.
No.
So he's very entertaining. He's hilarious. I miss him every day on YouTube because it was just so much fun
Yeah.
when he was around. Like YouTube's just not as much fun anymore. It's depressing half the time. I pretty much only use it now to either watch like our stuff or to watch like informational videos, like how to do something I don't know how to do,
Oh, sure.
because it's
Yeah.
just the oppressive nature of it is so ridiculous that it's not even that there's no joy to be had.
Yeah.
And when guys like Alex were some of the last people who had serious reach, who was just fun. Like he could just have fun. He'd make fun of himself. That's what I like about Alex is while
Yeah.
what he's talking about is very, very serious, he doesn't take himself seriously at all.
Mm-mm.
He's ridiculous. Like he does
Yeah.
skits where he turns into Hillary Clinton, and he does skits where he becomes a Hillary Clinton supporter and starts ripping his shirt off and
Sure.
running out of the building.
Yeah. She's God.
Yeah. It's a character. It is a
Yeah,
character. There's plenty of
Yeah.
people who have said, look, I've met Alex in real life. He's actually a very normal dude. It's just a character. He's up on stage, and he's couching his serious information behind the character to make it entertaining and to sell his stuff. And I don't
yeah.
understand why people keep attacking him for that. It's America. It's capitalism, baby. He's trying to make a living. What's wrong with that? I mean,
Here,
honestly.
here's the issue that a lot of people have is they say, he's selling snake oil, and he kind of is, but so what? Like I believe in letting people make their own mistakes. If people take that stuff and it's just a placebo effect and they feel better, or maybe it actually does help them because some of it is actually good stuff. It's just really expensive. Um, Fine, who cares? Why does it matter to you? It's the same people who say that weed should be legal, right? The lefties who are all about legalizing weed, who tell people like Alex Jones that he's a bad person because he sells fake supplements or whatever.
Well, they're not fake,
Yeah,
actually. From what I understand, his supplements are just the normal stuff you can go buy in the drugstore. He
Yeah,
yeah,
just overcharges for it, right?
that's right.
yes.
Yeah, they're
But
not
my point
fake at all.
is these
But
these
you
same
know, it's
people
the
who
support
try
of
and
the
go
show.
on and on and on and on and on and on and on about the medicinal qualities of weed, how great weed can be for you if it's taken right, medical marijuana. And then they turn around and they crap all over Alex because he sells, bone broth. Like it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. But of course, Alex, the only place you can find him now is radio, right?
His website, his show still streams live on his website,
Oh, okay.
and I think he's on BitChute too, because they can't, it's pretty much impossible to censor BitChute the way it's structured. And I genuinely think you're going to see a lot more of the internet go that way. The big corporate sites are going to keep doing their nonsense unless somebody stops them. But
Well,
BitChute is basically just peer-to-peer video service. Um, it's completely legal, it's completely fine, and there's really very few ways to censor it because it's quite literally from one person to another is how it functions. All they are is the bridge between them.
yeah.
And it'd be very hard to do. They'd have to literally come and confiscate their servers, which would be the only way. And I
Well,
don't see them doing that.
Well, here's the thing though, with the Trump's there's a lot of things going on politically that are not this whole protest or coronavirus nonsense, right? And of course, a lot of people, the funny thing for me is Trump is dealing with everything that he's supposed to. He's the president. He has to,
Yeah,
right? But yet they complain when he doesn't have his focus 100% on the protest. When he keeps saying, "Look, governors, get your shit together. If you don't, I'll come in and get it together for you. Why aren't you using National Guard? Yada yada yada." Right? But he's dealing with all these issues, right? And one of them, of course, is Twitter. And if that turns out where they basically get, I don't know, think they get broken up, but I think what will happen is they will have to go the route of, say, AT&T or some of these other things, which is good and bad. We can have that argument. But if that happens, Alex will probably be back, dude, because
hopefully.
how could they keep him out, right?
I've often said that the solution is there's three different viable solutions because the current situation is ridiculous when they can just completely unperson, like on the internet, a guy like Alex Jones. That's way too much power for anybody to have, really, but especially unelected people who the people have no control over, really.
Yeah.
Um, so the solution is the main issue with Twitter is they keep dancing that line. So what they should do is just stop dancing the line, and if people want a more regulated version of it, just offer that to them,
Yeah.
right? Like just offer, you sign up, you say this, maybe it's even a fee like $1 a month or something, and bam, now they can regulate all they want because it'd be very similar legally to like a club, right? Like a nightclub can keep anybody they want out if they want.
Sure.
They do it all the time. So if they have some barrier of entry, whether it's money or whatever, besides just hey sign on and it takes like 2 minutes to make a Twitter account, um, that there's no barrier to entry is my point. So Twitter should make a version of Twitter with a barrier to entry. Anybody who has an account now can convert over to it with a press of a button. That's fine. It's fully regulated like they are now. Have all the advertisers on it like they do now, and then just make one that isn't. Make one that
Yeah.
is basically the public commons, like it's supposed to be. Facebook should be that do this as well, and problem solved.
Yeah.
They don't lose any money. The government doesn't have to step on their throat. Everybody wins. But they
Yeah.
don't want to do that because they
No.
want that control.
Oh
They
yeah.
want control of the narrative. So unfortunately, the government does need to step on their throat because they're trying to usurp control from the people.
That's right.
And that's the government's job to protect us from things like that.
Oh, well, if these things like Twitter, YouTube, if they were egalitarian at all, they would simply just put it in a rating system. But they don't,
Yep. Nope.
right?
It's
Because it's not the
ridiculous.
point. It's about controlling politics and getting Trump. TDS is a real thing, dude. It's real,
Yeah.
right? And Matthew, you do not want to derail me into that conversation, brother. He says, Chester, did you see that China is pushing on the Himalayan border with India again? Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
we'll never get back to Alex Jones with that.
No, we won't, and I won't. I won't take the bait. But I will say
Uh-huh.
this: China has been doing a lot of things while this has been going on. Not only coronavirus, but of course the Floyd stuff. They have picked up everywhere because they see an opportunity to get some of their objectives done while America's busy, right? And
China is asshole.
China is asshole. That's right. But keep this in mind. This has been going on for the longest time, dude. And India is done with their shit. I don't know about you guys, but I actually watch Indian news. Yeah. And
Yeah,
India is
I don't.
really pissed. So there might be a
Mm-hmm.
shooting war coming real soon, actually. And I'm not being
Ooh.
hyperbolic at all. I know you don't watch Indian news, but I try to make a point of paying attention, Booster.
Why would I watch Indian news? Unless they've got like a new astounding curry, I don't give a shit.
All right, fine.
Well, like I was saying earlier, India has a whole slew of its own problems
Oh, yeah.
too when it comes to like ethnic troubles between the different religious factions. So it's crazy that this all I've said this many times. There seems to be like this air of stuff that happens, right? Like this air of discontent that happens in humanity pretty much all at once around the globe.
Yeah.
And I think we're in one now. I've been saying that for a while. I think the solution is to lean into it for people who want to be free, people who don't want to live under an oppressive regime like these lefties want to obviously create and have created, um, and just fix the problem. And the problem is the people with the bad ideas.
Mhm.
I'm not saying necessarily kill them all. That's not what I'm advocating for. But just get rid of them. We don't have to live with them. We don't have to live together. There's nothing written in stone that says we have to. So let them have their lefty paradises and move on.
Would
Everybody
would you
wins.
would you like me to get into an outrageous scientific theory behind why these era of discontent and content happen?
Let's do it.
All right. There's a theory going around, an actual scientific theory. This is not just some Looney Tunes coming out of some crackpot like myself. Um, that you know how when you're sitting in a room and you feel like the hairs on the back of your neck lifting and you think someone's looking at you and you turn around and sure enough someone's staring right at you. You know how that
Yeah.
happens, right? Well,
Yeah.
they've done studies into understanding what is this. And of course, at first they were looking at the idea that your personal electrical bubble, because we are electrical beings, right? All living things are. It reaches much further than they thought, and we're kind of all connected. And then, of course, the string theory, M theory, particle theory, all that kind of stuff came into the conversation. That they kind of were going to the point of everything is connected, literally connected electrically throughout every human on this planet, all the way throughout the entire universe. This is kind of a physics, and it's not just the plasma physicist either. It's much broader than that. But the theory coming out is that, and this is being touted not only by physicists but also by like religious individuals, and it's quite broad appeal on this theory. Is the idea that we're literally all of our electricalness is literally touching each other, and when you have emotional spikes, it will wave through the entire planet, and that is why you will get these kind of uplifts in emotional effects, whether they be positive or negative. And there's actually quite a few people who are putting real science time into trying to see if there's truth behind this. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've said on here before, I'm an empath. I already knew that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean,
all all em- all an empath does, all it is, it's not some magical woo woo stuff. It's just that field that you're talking about. We feel it stronger than other people for whatever reason, and that's why a lot of us are like introverts. We don't want to be around people because it's exhausting. Um, but yeah, absolutely. I don't doubt it for a second because I've lived it. I've experienced it
yeah,
myself personally. So I would be very surprised if it wasn't the case. In fact, I think we already know. Science has already proven that we all give off basically radiation, a form of energy. human beings are, because like you said, we're electrical beings. And I just it would make perfect sense to me that that would organize itself into a field like all other forms of energy do,
Yeah.
and then we could easily feel each other and things like that. Because it happens to me all the time, where I'll walk into a room and I can just feel all the other people, or I'll know when we're. This happens to other people too, like you said. You'll just know when you're not alone. You don't know how you know it. You just know it.
Yeah.
And or you'll know, like you'll feel when somebody's about to call you. Like, have you ever done that?
Oh,
Like
sure.
you'll have a premonition that, hey, this person's about to call me, back in the
My
day before
grandmother
every
was really
phone
good at
told
that.
you.
Yeah.
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 I think that's all it is. I don't think there's any magic or woo woo to it. I just think we are energy beings trapped in like flesh robots,
Ooh.
and we can feel that energy change.
Wait, wait.
And by the way, let's tie this back to Alex. Alex has said on record that he not only agrees with that, but also the elite 100% believe that. The globalists do. And a lot of the stuff they're doing is to try and strengthen and experiment with that, because they're, as he calls them, psychic vampires.
He does, and
Um,
people laugh at him for it, but he's making the same point I just did, just more
yep.
outlandishly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Booster, are do you think you're tickling my electrical bits?
Mm. Oh, for the right price, yeah.
Okay, thanks, man. Thanks. Let me see. Let me catch on the chat real quick. The metal says, I was actually just suggesting to the people I live with that a hot war between India and China is likely on the rise, but they wouldn't have any of that talk. Like I said, this is kind of always an issue with them. India and China are always at each other's throats, and like I said, I want to be pulled into that conversation because we're here to talk about Alex and the nonsense that's going on, but. Here's the thing. China is having a lot of political, social disorder right now. A lot. The Chinese people are seeing an opportunity to get out from underneath the CCP, and there's a lot of pushback. A lot of pushback. Do keep in mind there's still a lot of cities that are shut down for this coronavirus thing, and some people are saying that some of the shutdown is simply to control the movement of people because there's so much rioting happening. So every time this happens, what any communist state does, China being a communist state, they try to find something to distract the public, right? And I would say all governments do this actually, but China does it all the time. And for them to start a hot war, a short-term one from their point of view, probably with India would distract, right? And I think that's part of what's going on, and that's all I'll say on that. Um, well, if string theory is involved in all of it, it wouldn't exactly call it real science. Well, the point, see, the thing happened with particle physics, with Einstein and stuff, is that it was the realization that they had particles that were existing in two places at the same time. And this was a bit confusing to them. And they have been on a march ever since of trying to understand that. And that's brought us all the way up to M theory or membrane theory that we're sitting on now. So this concept of everything being connected and everything being at one place at the one time, it also brought up the holographic universe concept. All those things are coming out of this. And this emotional aspect of it within the electrical field is it's just an extension of it, right? So anyway,
Mm.
Flying Saucer says electromagnetic forces has no limit, like gravity attraction. That's true, dude. Magneto-electrical things are incredibly effective in everything we see. They're also way faster than light. Now that's one of the most interesting things that's happened in modern science for me. That the general consensus now, and this is pretty crazy when you think about it, is that plasma, electricity itself, and then, once again, I'm not getting into the plasma scientist here. I'm just sticking with mainstream science, right? That it is so much more faster than light. Because for most of us who grew up in school, light is the fastest thing there is, right? Well, it's not true anymore. Scientists don't believe that at all. And the interesting thing is that light has kind of been relegated to being the smoke that comes out of the heat of the electrical universe, right? And that's pretty interesting, I think. But yeah, anyway. Let's see here. Kat says, I call BS on this. This would mean psychics are actually real. Well, I think there's a lot of evidence to show that some people are more cognitively aware than others, right? Now,
Hmm.
does that mean they can tell the future or all those things? I don't know. But you can't deny that some people are more cognitively aware than others. It's clearly true. right?
Yeah, I think some people exploit that to make themselves out look
Oh,
to be
sure, sure.
scientists.
Well, what
Yeah.
do you think?
It's to look like psychics. What do I say? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. What do you think mind readers and fortune tellers are doing? They're
Yeah.
reading you, but there
Mhm.
is a certain amount of empathy involved in their action, dude.
And a lot of what they do is like like 20 questions, right?
Yeah.
They try to see what they can. Oh, I hear a meh, a family member. This is something like that, you know.
Now Topher said grandmas make the best psych. No, you're right, Booster, 100%. Let me give you a story real quick, and maybe you guys have one you could share too regarding this. This is perfect because Alex would love this conversation. He would love it, right? I'll give you an example. My grandma, just one. She did this all the time, actually. I was little. I was a kid. I was sitting at the table, and I was eating one of her. Oh, she made the best egg McMuffins, dude. But anyway,
Oh,
I was eating one of them, and she all of a sudden got real flustered and worried, and I mean visibly so. And I was young. I was like what, like 8, something like that. I was really young. But I remember very clearly she became very agitated. And she says, "Oh no, something bad's happened. Something bad's happened, right?" And then, like 30 minutes later, it wasn't even like within a minute. It was a good chunk of time later. The phone rang, and my grandfather had come in on the boat because I come from a fishing family, my mom's side anyway. And he had been pretty badly hurt on the boat. He'd actually got some rod or some piece of metal had gone right through his leg. And they had just got into port and they were taking him to the hospital and they were calling her to let her know. She knew something was wrong. She knew it. And I've seen her do that many times. So I don't know what to tell you about grandmas, dude, but watch out. Don't mess with grandma.
mhm, mhm.
Uh,
um, just I'm gonna try English this time. Speaking to that exact thing, I don't know if Booster remembers it, but just a few weeks ago, I did the exact same thing. I had the exact same thing. I got really anxious and really agitated. I was literally had typewriter knee, where my leg was bouncing. I was super on edge, and I told Booster, and I think Wasp was in there with us at the time. Something bad's gonna happen. Something really bad's gonna happen. And what I found out happened was my wife's unit was made into the COVID unit. Like the next day, she told me that that's what they're going to do. So I genuinely think that, or I don't think, I know that that's something people can do because I've done it. I do it quite often. In fact, I tell this story all the time. My buddy and I were driving out in the country, out where I used to live, and for whatever reason, I was like, I was in a bad mood that day. Like I just didn't feel well. And long story short, we're driving along, and I'm like, you know what? Wouldn't it be crazy if a deer just ran out right in front of us right now? Not a minute later, deer runs out in front of us. We swerve off the road. We go in a ditch. Luckily, his truck was 4-wheel drive and everything. We were fine. But yeah, like that kind of stuff happens all the time.
it
Now, I
does.
don't think it's like when I say this stuff, it's not some special power. I don't even believe in psychic phenomena. I think it's just human beings are more than what we think we are. We now know that our whole body, our brain is connected to our entire body at all the times, right?
Hmm.
Well, then effectively our entire body is part of our brain. It's part of our central nervous system.
Sure.
And that means that your whole body, your mind, everything you are is literally your whole body. So you're more in touch with the world directly than you realize. I just think for whatever reason, some people are more capable at that being attuned or whatever you want to call it than others are.
Yeah.
Um, just like some people can sing and some people can't, right? Some people can't carry a tune in a bucket. Some people can draw and some people can't. That's a mental thing. The ability to draw very well is a mind thing. It's not a
Perception.
hand
Yeah.
thing. It's not It's not necessarily muscle memory. You can train your muscles to get better at it, but they literally have a I can't remember what it's called, but one of the parts of the brain functions at a more precise rate than others does. That's why they can do that. One of my best
Yeah.
friends growing up was just a ridiculously good artist. He could just draw anything. He'd see it, he could draw it. And I can't do that. Even if I try, I could never be as good as him. So some people just have natural abilities that are beyond other people, and it's not magic or woo woo or psychic phenomena. It's just human beings. That's all it is. I don't believe in like fortune tellers or anything because it's not like that.
Hmm.
Anybody who's ever experienced anything that you could classify as a premonition will tell you there's no control over it. You can't force it to happen. Anybody who tells you they can is lying. It's just for whatever reason you get this weird feeling and stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kat makes a good point over here. She says drawing is a practice thing. Of course it is, but I can't draw at all, and I've practiced a lot, right? But
Yep.
yet with music, I can play any instrument, even if I've never seen the instrument before. Give me 30 minutes, I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it
Yeah.
well, right? It's a talent. Now, if I want to become a master of it, I got to practice, right? But
Right.
talent is a real thing. A lot of people like Mike really hates it when you use the word talent, Mike Miller, but he's wrong. Talent is real. You have then what you do
Yes.
is you take your talent and you build skill on top of it. You see.
Hmm.
The thing with that, also another interesting point in which you said, Thundero, is the fact that there are a lot of scientific groups that are trying to find out how to transfer your consciousness into a hard drive or whatever.
Hmm.
They're trying to find out how to transfer your consciousness. It's real science, and they're really working on it. And one of the things they've run, one of the problems that have come up in the early stages of this science, is that copying your memory engrams is something it seems like they're not too far off from being able to do, shockingly. But they found that that's not going to do it. You are much
No.
more than your memory. And of course, we know that's
Yes.
true. If you have any kind of brain in your head, you are consciousness. And your consciousness is your electrical self, right? So science is even starting to catch up with that. It's really interesting when you're seeing what is considered the supernatural and the science to start to merge. I think that those are always fascinating to me. Howell says Biden is a physical empath, or was that a psychopath? Yeah, well, okay. Uh, Topher says mothers make the best psychic vampires. It looks like I'm going to have to put on my psychology hat here again, Thundera. Yes, Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. You know, there's several guys in these chat that are very smart, and they make all kind of cool comments. You guys notice that?
Hmm.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Metal. You're yeah. And Raythul says they're using the Force. Wonderful. Uh, oh goodness. Rita says both of my parents swore that when I was between the ages of around 3 to 6, I would tell them to answer the phone about 10 seconds before the thing rang. Supposedly, this occurred almost daily. Everybody has examples like this, dude, and of course, it makes sense because what is the telephone? It's an electrical signal, right?
Yep.
It's all electrically connected, and this kind of science is becoming more and more real, mainstream, not just fringe science. And that's why I kept saying I'm not connecting to the plasma scientists because I know some of you guys get very upset when I get into that, but I'm leaving them out of the conversation. I'm just talking about mainstream science are starting to kind of get on board with this stuff. Jiminy says, gasp, Mike Miller is wrong. No. Well, I just, I love Mike. I mean, he's a great artist. He's got a good sense of humor, yada yada yada. I love the fact that he defends his religions, and as he should, right? But
Yes.
I really do not agree with him on that because he virulently wants the fact that the only skill matters. It's not true, dude. It's just
It's
not true.
it's it's also not biblical. Jesus himself told the parable of the talents for a reason.
Yeah, there you go. But let's not get into the conversation about Christians that don't read the Bible, okay? Jesus, dude. Uh,
Anyway, back to Alex Jones, the man who is also a Christian. At least he claims to be one anyway, and that's
mhm.
the only quality criteria necessary for most people. Alex, one of the things speaking about him is one of the things that he's done wrong in his career. One of the main things is if anybody's ever looked it up, um, the Y2K thing. And I don't know if you
Oh
guys
yeah,
talked about this at all before I got
yeah.
here, but you can find it. It's probably still on YouTube, actually, funny enough. His Y2K show. See, what made him, one of the things that got him famous was he was a big Y2K guy. And he really thought that the world was going to collapse because of Y2K. And then I guess he did some show. I watched it like 10 years ago. I barely remember it. But he did a show basically where he was saying that was happening, that Y2K was happening,
Sure.
that planes were falling out of the sky and all this other stuff. And we
Raymond
know, as we
Burr.
know, nothing happened really, nothing major. A few glitches here or there, but nothing catastrophic happened. Um, and that was a big black mark on him for a long time.
Yeah.
He got away from it, thankfully for him, I think, because of 9/11. And he was one of the very big proponents of 9/11, the 9/11 truth movement rather. and he still to this day he shies away from it a little bit. But I mean, he just doesn't talk about it as much, right? And the main reason he doesn't is because I think he realized that even if they proved it, unfortunately, it wouldn't matter. I say that to conspiracy theorist people who still rail on about this stuff. It's people don't care. Yeah, I know that sucks to say, and it sucks for me especially because I personally knew somebody who's lost a family member on that day in the Pentagon. But people just don't care. They don't. You can tell them the truth, and they just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So I think he realized that banging this drum, it's just not going to work. It's not going to bring about the change he wants. And then he obviously, started talking with Trump and guys like Trump, and he became a little bit more politically activated because of the fact that Trump was out here saying things that he wanted somebody to say for a long time, and he was very anti-globalism. No matter what anybody says, not only did Alex Jones help get Trump elected,
He
but
did.
his very first speech that he gave, where he said the words, uh, Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo, he got that directly from Alex Jones.
Sure.
And anybody who thinks otherwise is fooling themselves. Alex 100% influenced not only that election, but he influenced the man who won it greatly. I don't know what happened in his conversation that he had with Obama. Nobody but him and Obama know. But they were in there for 90 minutes. They were only supposed to be in there for 15. And I'm talking about Trump here. And after that, he changed a lot of his tone on this kind of stuff. So I think somebody may have, smartened him up to the reality of the world, or, how things actually run, da 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 da.
I think so.
Because he went from being very open to it and talking about it publicly. If you remember, he was a Obama birth certificate guy, and
He
he's talked
was.
about he doesn't trust vaccines and stuff like this, and on and on and on. I think Trump is one of these people who he's very high in that regard. Like he's open minded to that kind of stuff. But now, since he's been president, he's hasn't you don't really hear him talk about that stuff. He'll still talk about globalism, and he'll still talk about the media being just evil, but he veers away from the more conspiracy theory toned stuff. But yeah, absolutely, Alex is incredibly influential. He had a massive influence on Trump. It was that made me even consider listening to anything Trump had to say when he started talking about globalism. The very term globalism was considered a conspiracy theory until 2016. And this is all because of Alex Jones.
Yep.
It's no one else. People can try and take all the credit they want. They can say it was Trump. Trump got it from him. He went on his show, for crying out loud. Um, I don't believe for one second that the world would be what it is if it wasn't for Alex. Insofar as President Trump would exist, that wouldn't have happened. Alex helped him in a way that he may not get again. Probably will, because as far as I understand, Alex still supports him. He just disagrees with him, some of his decisions, like you said. But we'll see what happens this year. Alex is a very influential man, even though they've tried to deplatform him. They didn't kill him, but they tried, at least financially.
They
He lost a
crippled
lot
him.
of money. Yeah. But he's not gone. And
Yep.
I think if Trump does actually, if it goes beyond just him reclassifying Twitter, if it goes further than that, and we actually do see some action on social media censorship and the power that it has, you'll see Alex back, and that'd be great because he's
It
just
would
he's
be.
just fun. He's so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah, there was no reason for them to do that. It was all political. The
Yeah.
chat is going on about examples they have, like songs in my head often show up on the radio. There's sometimes where I'm listening in a playlist and a random playlist, and a song I was thinking about that I start humming comes up, et cetera, et cetera. We all have things like that, dude. I remember when I was young, like a teenager, I would talk on the phone. Back in those days before we had computers, by the way, I talk on the phone with my girlfriend, and I would tell her to look at something in her bedroom, and I'd tell her exactly what she's looking at, although I had never been in the bedroom yet. Now, to be fair, I was just trying to get in her pants. But these things do happen, dude. And
Yeah.
Rodwell Stefan says that Mike just dislikes the idea of talent overriding all the work he put in. I'm happy to stand corrected, dude. Um, and Jiminy says that's basically we all have the same talent starting off. Now I've heard that argument before, Jiminy. I don't think I agree with it though, because I know for a fact I've spent a lot of time in my life trying to learn how to draw, and I still suck at it. I'm almost 50. and I suck at it. I can't. And I've never. And I put time in, actual time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yet I was 5 years old, begging my family because I was sitting with my grandfather watching, I think an Ed Sullivan rerun or something like that, and it had Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie come up, and they were doing the bebop thing, and I just wouldn't shut up about the saxophone. They finally got me one, and I was playing that thing within weeks, dude.
Hmm.
I mean, literally playing it properly, and I've always been that way musically. Anything you put an instrument in my hand, I'm on it, dude. I'm just instantly on it. So and of course I put in a lifetime of practice as well. But talent is real thing, dude. It's real. I know from personal experience. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree. Interesting counterpoint though. Obama showed him the Kennedy tapes. Okay, maybe. Oh, goodness. What do you
Well, he
think he
showed
did
him
show him?
something.
Well, what do you think,
Um,
Booster? We all saw that where Trump went in the meeting and it went an hour and a half when it was only supposed to
Mhm.
go like 10 minutes or something. He comes out, he's white as a ghost. It's clear he was shown something. Clear.
yeah.
What do you think he saw?
I just think someone fingered him.
Uh,
Oh, good lord.
Yeah. Someone just, put on a white glove,
Oh,
tickle his
shit.
asshole a little, and they said, "Look, this is going to happen to you unless you behave. Okay, you got to
I,
be a good little president.
I hold you
Okay."
responsible, Thundero. This is your fault.
He's like, "Oh, jeez, no, don't tickle my asshole again."
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I get the joke, Rodwell, but I mean, pine saucer. That's funny. I get the joke, but I mean, it's true though. I have in my life, I have many times gotten a hold of a new instrument. I'm always interested checking out a new instrument, and I'm playing it within just the shortest amount of time you can imagine. I'm playing the instrument, and I don't know what to tell you. It's just a thing, dude. That is my talent, you know. And everyone's got one, it seems. What's your talent, Booster? Oh God, did I ask that question? Uh-oh.
Oh, I don't know.
You must have a talent. Everyone's got one, dude.
Nah.
Nah. Thunder, what's your talent?
observation. I
Observation.
have an incredibly keen eye for things. Not things like that I should, like simple things, like I'll look in the fridge for something and not see it, and my wife will see it in 2 seconds. Not like that, but when it comes to, I always say I have two really good skills. I'm great at instigating, and I'm great at forecasting. So I can tell generally where things are going to go. Just like pat myself on the back. Like I said, DC was probably done with Diamond. Looks like I was right. Um, stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
I can just, for some reason, even if it's a field I don't have a lot of familiarity with, I can look at something uh, very briefly and generally tell the gist of it. Right, I can get the gist of things real fast, and it's just something I've always been able to do. The Bible, taking it to the Bible place randomly,
Mhm.
the Bible calls it the spiritual gift of discernment. Well, I've had it my whole life. You can just
There you
see
go.
things and discern them in a
Yep.
way that other people just don't see it.
And the interesting thing about what you just said, talking about ancient text, and of course, the Bible being a big one of those, probably the
Mm,
biggest, is when you think of magic and things like that, Hollywood, you have this Hollywood impression. And the problem is, we all have way too many Hollywood impressions of things because Hollywood is not reality. They have two
no.
hours to tell a story and they have to cut a lot of corners. Therefore, creating, concepts and general ideas is how they do their job. But if you read these ancient texts, they don't talk about, Gandalf waving his hands and energy bolts coming out of him. That's not what they talk about. A lot of the stuff they talk about is conscious perception,
Mhm.
right? A lot of it. And just so you know, Booster, the chat is saying you are a tomato.
No, they're
I
saying
am a
his skill
tailor-made
is
aware.
at.
That's
No,
my.
no, no, no,
That's
Yeah,
no,
what I was
no,
born
no.
to do.
yeah.
That is what I was designed by Gad to do.
Again.
To be a tomato. That's perfect. Uh, Alan
Hmm.
says, I think the cabal Saturnists are real and actually threatened him, and is why he speaks supposedly in code sometimes, a la QAnon. Maybe, dude. I think it's without question there are these Saturnist cabals. Well, there clearly are. And I've said this before, and this I think is the most important point. It doesn't matter if what they believe is true, that doesn't mean anything. They
Yeah.
believe it. And that's all that
The
matters
whole
because.
They wholeheartedly believe it,
wholeheartedly, and they have money and
zealously.
power.
Yes.
So
So just like many men of science have been executed for telling the truth in history, because the people they were telling it to believed the opposite,
yeah,
and they had the power to enact that change. So yeah, the truth is incredibly important and obviously powerful, but it's very hard to overcome delusion.
it is. And we're definitely at the end of the show here, because I got to get myself into work. But it was an interesting conversation, and we stayed on topic pretty well, kinda.
No, we didn't.
Actually, we
Not
Well,
at
did.
the
all.
problem is what we need to do next time. We'll talk about Alex again, of course. The next time we need to focus on specific things because he's got a 25, 30-year career. So it's hard to brush that all up into an hour and a half, 2 hour
Sure.
conversation.
Well,
So what I would
yeah,
so what next time we talk about him, we should focus on one specific you know time frame for him.
we could.
I think.
Mainly the point I was trying to make with Alex today is why he got canceled. That was
Yeah.
my main push. It wasn't so much about Alex himself. We did talk about some of the things that got him in trouble, but and we talked about him
Mhm.
overall. But I agree. Alex is a very interesting character. I don't know if he's necessarily the best at what he does. He's certainly an entertaining version of it, though. Because there are other people who probably do it better, but they're not necessarily very entertaining, though, right? And their reach is far smaller than his because of it.
Mm.
But anyway, we'll definitely get back and talk about Alex at another time, and I think it's a good idea, Thundero. So we need to make a decision what we want to do next here, because we still have movies, FBI, comic books, music, Jackal Island, Pyramid Power, Heaven's Gate. Lost cities that are not Atlantis, Edmund Bernays, the Bolsheviks, and we just finished Alex Jones, so I'll check him off the list. What do you guys think we should do next week?
I say we let Booster pick.
Yeah,
If he's even can be here, he might not be able to at work, but we'll see.
I thought I picked Alex Jones,
you
so it's
did.
not
So
my
pick
turn.
again. It is your turn.
I
Always
don't want to pick
Booster's
again.
turn. It's always Booster's turn.
I don't know what to do with this one. I don't know what to do with this show. Get out of here. Get away from me.
Booster, one of those options is one of your great passions in life. Did you not hear them?
Which one?
Comic books.
Oh, comic books are okay.
Yeah, they're okay. They're just okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
What
I
what
mean,
conspiracy is there for comic books?
Oh,
Tell me.
well,
What?
Booster.
well,
Booster.
we
I
have.
mean,
There's so many.
Jeez, dude, we have the
I mean,
Comic
if we
Code
want to go
Authority.
conspiracies and we want to go bloody topical, yeah, George Floyd.
What about him?
I don't know. Some people in the chat today was talking about how he bloody was on some website months ago or something.
Well, weeks, I think, but yeah, no, I don't know. Do you guys want to dig into that though?
I
We'll
don't
get off
know.
topic. We'll get off topic instantly because there's hardly anything to talk about the guy with.
Well, then don't do it then. Fuck me.
How about what do you think about pyramid power, Thundero? And of course, that we just wrote it down as pyramid power, but it goes into psychic healing, and we kind of touched on a little bit of that today when we talk about the electrical connectivity of humanity. It kind of
Yeah.
plays into that. Uh,
Have we
we,
done anything like the Illuminati?
we have, yeah, we have, yeah,
We can always
Sure.
do it again, though.
we
We can
could.
always go deeper, go different angles at it.
Yeah.
One thing
Oh,
that
yeah,
is for
the
sure
Illuminati.
is
Well,
the
everyone,
Illuminati.
no,
The
go ahead.
group itself might not be considered that anymore. They might not call themselves the Illuminati, but whatever they were, I would say definitely still exists. They just have a different name.
Yeah. The chat seems to be going on about the Bolsheviks, which I do want to have. That's a deep conversation, though, boy. Um, because that affects everything. Uh, we're still dealing with it. What do you think these Democrats in America are, or at least the progressives? Albino Thunderbuns is here, which I think is awesome, and he says the Electric Universe more in depth than what you summarized today. Well, I have gone very in depth with the Electric Universe on a previous TFT, a couple of them actually, and I got yelled at a lot for talking about that too much. So I'm certainly not going to do it for a while because I don't want to get yelled at again. But you could go back and watch that. The Coral Castle and how it was built. Yeah, that's very cool. Albino Thunderbuns. It kind of plays into that same conversation, doesn't it? Joe says Pyramid Power, Alan Parsons project. Oh no! Not only did he produce Dark Side of the Moon, but the third APP album was about Pyramid Power. It's true. It is true. I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually played with the machine for quite a while. Which they're the
You
pre.
bring it up.
Oh, shut up! All right, fine. Well, they brought it up. I was just recognizing it, right? Will Impress. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. A long, long time. I don't know, Thunder. What do you think? What should we do, dude?
To be honest, I don't even care. We can do any of them. Whichever one
Any
seems
of them.
like the most fun to talk about. We could do Alex Jones too if you want. We could actually do go a little bit more in depth on Alex. Maybe even find some of his more outlandish things he's done, or some of the stuff that's fun with Alex is his memes, all the memes he's created over the years, whether accidentally or not. He's he's a meme lord.
Absolutely.
But no, we could do whatever. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm good either way.
Well, I think I don't know if I want to do Alex 2 weeks in a row. Um, hmm. All right, fine. We'll do Alex Jones next week, but we'll get more into him and his antics instead of the fallout from Alex Jones. How about that? Because that's what today was, the fallout of from and of Alex Jones. We'll get more into his
Yes.
actual antics next week. Sound good, Booster?
Sounds good to me.
Sweet. So definitely prepare some your favorite, Alex Jones moments and
Mimis.
memes and stuff like that, and we'll get into that. Paul is dead conspiracy. Well, I don't even know if that's a conspiracy anymore. Ringo Starr came out and admitted it back in the 10 years ago or 12, 15 years ago, right? So is that even a conspiracy anymore?
Huh.
Well, that Paul McCartney died in 67 or 68 in a car accident, and they covered it up, and they replaced him with Billy Shears, and that whole conspiracy. You know that whole conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I kind of thought it was a done one because, like I said, Ringo admitted it in an interview not that long ago. So I don't
Did
know.
he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Weird.
Which is why I never put it on a list because I thought it was a done conversation. Um, anyway,
Let's do the pyramid power one. I think actually, I think that'll be. I mean, we can do like I said, we'll do that one after we do Alex again. We'll go to pyramid power and talk about that because that is pretty interesting. And there's a lot of evidence. There's actually been people who've used similar techniques here to build stuff. So
that's
it'll
true.
be very interesting to see.
So we're not doing Alex, we're doing Pyramid Power.
Well, we can do either. I'm just saying we should do that one soon. I like that idea. But I think Booster wants to talk about Alex's
Yeah.
memes.
No, let's do the Alex
No,
memes
you
and
can
then we'll do Pyramid
do
Power
pyramid
after.
power. I don't mind. I don't want to. I don't want to step on anyone's tootsies.
Well,
Booster,
no,
I'm going to step on you in a minute.
I think it's
Ooh.
fair. We just can't get all of Alex into one show. Next week, I think we should just talk about Alex himself instead of what happened to him and around him. So good. We'll do that next week. Alex Jones Part 2. And rock on, guys. There's a lot of great conversations going on here. Pyramid Power will definitely do. That'll be a fun show. This because the thing is, guys, I think there might actually be something to that Pyramid Power stuff. I don't think that's a crackpot idea at all. I think there's some truth to it, actually.
Yeah.
And I think the ancients understood that too, which is why they built so many of the damn things. I love the people who say that, well, they just built it because it was an easy way to build. Okay, well, how come all their other structures weren't built like that then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no one, I mean, it's right in front of your face. It's right in front of your face. Anyway, all right, here we go. Booster, give your closing comments, please. Oh, no. Booster's going to namaste us because he feels, I feel
I am.
he's frisky. You are. So,
I am a
Thundero,
frisky lad.
you
Oh
are.
shit! I don't have it. Oh, I gotta Google something inspirational in
You have
fucking 2
about
minutes.
30 seconds. Go ahead, Thundero.
All I have to say is be safe out there. We
Mm,
have a Bolshevik revolution going on in America,
we do.
so try to stay safe. I think everything's going to be okay in the end. It might just take a little bit of time. But yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow night for the later show. It'll be fun. We're going to talk some comics news. Hopefully, everybody shows up and gives us a listen. There has been some crazy stuff going on in that field, so
Yeah.
we shall see.
Oh,
But yeah,
we
we'll see you
got
tomorrow.
Oh God, we have a lot to talk about tomorrow, dude.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be
I get to do my
exhausting.
victory dance.
You do. That's true. Anyway, guys, definitely come back 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There is a lot to talk about because Monday is our comic book show. We talk comic books only, right? All the rest of the stuff, we try to be diverse here and have a lot of different things we can talk about, right?
Very
But tomorrow,
diverse.
that too. But tomorrow is our comic book day. But the thing is, it's insanity what's going on with comic books right now. It's like oh my God, tomorrow. All right, Booster, go ahead, dude.
All right, Boost. I'm Boost Kiwi on the YouTube and on the Twitter. And GOP Gamer really wants me to tell you boys this. So here we are. GOP Gamer has commissioned me to do the White Lily issue 5 variant cover.
Uh-oh.
$2
So-
or $3?
All I can tell you is too much. Too much. I didn't even know I was getting paid. I'd be like, yeah, I was like, I'm in, yeah. And he's like, so how much you want to be paid? You want to pay me? What? So I just Googled inspirational quotes, and here's the first one that pops up. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. Yeah, can you see that hanging as a poster in a white girl's bedroom? I can.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, okay. Yeah, it kind of, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Yeah.
What are you, gay?
Namaste.
Namaste.
Later, everybody.
Aloha.